I want to thank Outfront Minnesota for this incredible honor, and thank all of you here tonight celebrating the work of this wonderful organization. I also want to thank the community of activists, the movement that I belong to here in Minnesota, faith, labor, and community partners, but especially to the members of SEIU Local 26, the janitors, security officers, window cleaners, and as of just this week, airport service workers. They have given me the honor of allowing me to be the leader of that union for the past 12 years. I also want to thank my partner of 20 years, John Stiles, who could not be here tonight because he had a long-standing trip planned that he left for last Wednesday morning. You can imagine that when he planned this trip many months ago, we had no idea that early morning last Wednesday would feel like the coming of the apocalypse. That the night before had been asleep maybe just an hour when I was jolted awake by a panic attack like nothing I had ever experienced. I literally felt like I could not breathe. The only words I could muster were, "Please don't go, please don't go." I felt at that moment that my world was literally collapsing, and I could not bear the thought of being without him for 2 weeks. I was able to eventually calm down, and John made it out of the country without me making too much of a scene. But that feeling of a lack of oxygen, that feeling of breathlessness has stayed with me. As I tried to work my way out of desperation, I was reminded of a lesson from Tibetan Buddhism that has helped me get through difficult moments in my work. It is a meditation called Tonglen. As you focus on your breath, you first envision yourself breathing in darkness and breathing out light. And then you envision yourself breathing in pain, the pain of others, and breathing out light. Breathe in pain, breathe out light. The people in this room know that those of us who work for social justice, that work is very, very hard. We see so much pain in the world, and we cannot help but breathe it in. We also encounter, create, and breathe out moments of sheer joy. When we have helped a victim of a hate crime rebuild, when we won a higher minimum wage, when we won the right to marry who we love, these things added joy to the world. A few years ago, in a particularly dark moment, I was feeling sorry for myself, and at that moment I thought, there's so much that I love about the work that I do, but there's so much that is so hard. And what I wished for in that moment was why can't I have just more of the joy part and less of the pain? And what I learned through Tonglen is that when we do the work of social justice, we cannot wish for work with less pain and more joy. The work of social justice is precisely to breathe in pain and breathe out light. That is the work, it is both. In 2011, I had this amazing experience, the great honor of representing SEIU at the Congress of the South African Transit Workers Union. It was a transformative experience. While I was in the country, I also visited the Apartheid Museum in Johannesburg and went to Soweto. The home Nelson Mandela returned to after being jailed for 27 years by the apartheid regime is now a museum in that township. Our tour guide, an older woman, told us about the famous Soweto uprising. And I asked her if she had been there and immediately realized that this was a dumb question. "Oh yes," she said, and she pointed to a scar of a bullet in her shin. I've been thinking about that trip to South Africa a lot this past week. It was when Mandela was finally released from decades of imprisonment. He was likely the only person in the country who had the moral authority to accomplish what he did, to lead South Africa through a peaceful transition of power. He led through reconciliation and rejected the civil strife that could have become civil war. At that moment, Nelson Mandela was called to greatness. He was called to greatness in ways that I could never imagine being called. And this week I have thought a lot about Mandela and about my tour guide in Soweto. I've been thinking about them because I have often said that organizing is a vocation for optimists, necessarily so. But in this last week, I confess that it has been existentially difficult to find the optimism, to find the joy, or even to find my breath. I cannot stand here tonight and paint a bright picture of the future for you. We will soon face challenges we have never seen before. But what I can tell you is that in the face of the challenges that are to come, that we, the people in this room, are called to greatness. When immigrants, terrified the country has elected a man who won by demonizing them, are faced with the choice to live their lives even in the shadows boldly and with joy, we are called to greatness. When citizens are faced with the choice of sitting idly by or providing sanctuary if the president-elect keeps his promise to immediately deport 2 to 3 million people, we are called to greatness. When we are faced with the choice of silence or creating an underground railroad for women who want to control their own bodies and destiny when the president-elect takes steps to ban abortion under all circumstances, we are called to greatness. When we are faced with the choice of doing nothing or insisting our local elected officials resist implementing nationwide stop and frisk, we are called to greatness. When our Muslim brothers and sisters are faced with the prospects of being put on a registry, when the rest of us are faced with the choice of letting that happen or fighting, we are called to greatness.
Yes.
When we are faced with the choice of looking away or putting our bodies between our transgender loved ones and their oppressors, when they are made even more of a target because they choose to live and love as their true selves, we are called to greatness. When we are faced with the choice of continuing to stay divided or uniting non-union and union workers to fight when corporations and the elite go after workers and the organizations that represent them, we are called to greatness. And because we are called to greatness, we will love each other fiercely, call out our enemies, and call in our friends, creating a community of love and kindness and accountability and justice. Because we are called to greatness, we will breathe in pain. We will breathe in pain. We will breathe in pain. And we will breathe out light. Because we are called to greatness. Thank you.